I'm checking my axe for the 100th time today. Blade's still sharp. Handle's got that smooth wear from months of use. My hands know every grain in the wood. I set it down against the wall near the door where I can grab it fast. Day 73, I think. Lost count somewhere in the 40s and had to backtrack through my notebook. Doesn't matter much anyway. The cabin smells like pine resin and smoke. Always does. And I built the chimney myself last spring, April maybe, and I was so damn proud when it drew air properly on the first try. Filmed the whole thing for the channel. Off-grid living, building a stone chimney with hand tools. Got like 2,000 views. My most popular video was still that one about making char cloth. People love fire content. I never imagined I'd be living here when I built this place. It was supposed to be a weekend thing. A project. Somewhere to film content and get away from the apartment in Bellingham. 7 months of weekends clearing brush and felling trees, notching logs, mixing clay and fieldstone for the chimney. I documented everything, bought a decent camera setup, had maybe 400 subscribers who seemed genuinely interested in watching some guy in his early 30s build a cabin by hand. The radio's on, always on. Just static now on most channels, a M-band mostly. Sometimes I pick up something that might be a voice, but it's so distorted and far away, I can't tell if it's real or if I'm just hearing patterns in the noise. Like seeing faces in wood grain. That day, September 14th. I remember because I'd posted a video the night before and was checking my phone that morning to see the comments. 12 comments. Someone asked about the type of broadaxe I was using. Someone else wanted to know about permits for building on Forest Service land, and I typed out half a response about how this was private property, my uncle's land technically, though he never came up here, when the phone lost signal. Didn't think much of it. Signal's always spotty this far up. The cabin sits at about 4,200 feet elevation on the western slope of what locals call Kendrick's Peak, though it's not on most maps. Dense old growth Douglas fir and western hemlock. Some cedar in the wet spots. The logging road that gets you within 2 miles of here is gated, and the gate's been locked since the 80s. I hiked in, always hiked in with my gear in a pack. I was working on a stand of smaller alders that morning, thinning them out for better firewood access. Alder burns fast, but it's good for smoking meat, and I had this idea for a video about building a smokehouse. The radio sat on a stump about 10 feet away playing some NPR program about microplastics in seafood. I wasn't really listening. The emergency alert came through at 10:47 a.m. I remember looking at my watch because the sound startled me. That harsh digital tone. Same header codes. I've heard them before for storm warnings, but this felt different. The voice was wrong. Too fast. Like whoever was reading it was barely holding it together. This is an emergency alert for Whatcom and Skagit counties. A biological contamination event is underway. Citizens are advised to shelter in place immediately. Lock all doors and windows. Avoid contact with anyone displaying symptoms of infection. Symptoms include violent behavior, bleeding from eyes and mouth, loss of higher cognitive function. Do not approach anyone exhibiting these symptoms. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Further instructions will follow. Stay tuned to this frequency. Then it looped. Same message, same shaky voice. I stood there holding the axe, sweat cooling on my back. September in the mountains means the days are still warm, but the mornings are cold. I'd been working hard enough to shed my flannel shirt and was down to a t-shirt. Biological contamination, bleeding from eyes, violent behavior. My first thought was a chemical spill. Maybe something at the refinery down in Anacortes, or terrorism. You always think terrorism now for anything weird. But the symptoms didn't match. And they said biological, not chemical. I heard voices then, distant, maybe half a mile downslope toward the creek. There's a flat area down there where people sometimes camp, even though it's technically not allowed. I'd seen tents there before on previous trips, usually weekenders from Bellingham or Mount Vernon. I'd never bothered them. They never bothered me. But these voices weren't normal camping sounds. Someone was screaming, not like scared screaming, like rage, like an animal sound coming from a human throat. I picked up the radio. Checked my phone again. Still no signal. The emergency alert was still looping on the radio. I turned down the volume and listened. More screaming, a crash, like metal on metal. Then this wet sound, thick. I've butchered deer before, and I know the sound of something being torn apart. My stomach went cold. I should have stayed at the cabin, locked the door. That's what the alert said. Shelter in place. But I couldn't just stand there. Someone might need help. Maybe it was a bear attack. And we get black bears up here all the time, and if someone had food out and got stupid with it. I grabbed my pack, left the axe, stupid. I had a Ruger 1022 back at the cabin and a Glock 19 my dad gave me years ago that I'd brought up for shooting cans. The Glock was in the cabin. The .22 was there too. I had bear spray on my belt. That was it. The hike down toward the creek takes about 20 minutes if you're moving careful on the slope. I wasn't being careful. I was basically jogging through the undergrowth, trying not to trip on roots. The screaming had stopped. Now there was just this low sound, moaning maybe, and that wet noise, constant. I smelled it before I saw anything. Copper, heavy, like when you cut your hand bad and stick it in your mouth. But 1,000 times stronger. It soaked the air. The campsite was a mess. 2 tents, a blue Coleman and a green backpacking one. The blue tent was shredded, not unzipped. Shredded, long tears in the fabric. A cooler was overturned and there was food everywhere. A camping stove was on its side, still hissing. Someone had left the propane on. 3 people. I counted 3. One was on the ground near the fire ring. A man, 30s maybe, hiking boots and cargo shorts. His throat was gone. Just gone. His eyes were open, staring at nothing. Blood pooled under him, soaking into the dirt. The other 2 were hunched over something near the overturned cooler. A woman and a younger guy, maybe 20. They were making that wet sound, eating. They were eating something, and I realized it was a 4th person, a girl, teenager. She was still moving, still alive. Her mouth was open, but no sound came out. The woman's head snapped up. She looked right at me. Her face was covered in blood, fresh blood. It dripped from her chin. But her eyes, Jesus, her eyes were white. Not like blind cataracts. White like someone had painted over the iris and pupil. Completely white. She made a sound in her throat, like she was choking, like her airway was full of fluid. Then she stood up. Jerky, wrong. Her arms hung at weird angles. The young guy stood up too. Same white eyes, same throat sound. They both started walking toward me. Not running, walking, slow, steady steps. The girl on the ground twitched once and went still. I had the bear spray out. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. "Stay back," my voice cracked. "Asha, I'm warning you." They didn't react. Just kept walking, getting closer. 10 feet, 8 feet. I sprayed, hit them both full in the face. The oleoresin capsicum should have dropped them instantly, should have sent them screaming to the ground, clawing at their eyes. It didn't do anything. They walked right through the spray like it was mist. Their eyes didn't even water. I ran. I've never been so scared in my life. Pure animal panic. I crashed through the brush back up slope. Branches hit my face. I tripped over a root and went down hard. Scrambled back up, kept running. My lungs burned. The altitude suddenly mattered. I couldn't get enough air. I didn't look back until I reached the cabin. Slammed the door, through the bolt lock I'd installed mostly for peace of mind. Stood there gasping. My legs shook. I thought I might throw up. The radio was still going. Emergency alert, still looping. I turned it up. Loss of higher cognitive function. Infected individuals should be considered extremely dangerous. Do not attempt to restrain or contain them. Use of lethal force is authorized for self-defense. Repeat, use of lethal force is authorized. The contamination is spread through bodily fluids. Any bite or scratch from an infected person will result in infection. Symptoms appear within minutes to hours. There is no cure. There is no treatment. Avoid all contact. Military and National Guard units are being mobilized. Stay in your homes. Do not travel. Do not congregate in groups. This message will repeat. Lethal force authorized. No cure. Bodily fluids. I pulled out my phone. Still no signal. The battery was at 60%. I turned it off to save power. The Glock was in a lockbox under the bed frame. I'd brought 2 boxes of ammunition. 50 rounds. I'd already shot through about 20 rounds just plinking at targets on previous trips. That left maybe 75 rounds total. The .22 had more, maybe 200 rounds. I grabbed both guns, loaded the Glock, racked a round into the chamber, safety on. Set it on the table. My hands were still shaking. I went to the window. The cabin has 2 windows, one facing east toward the slope and the sunrise, one facing south toward the creek drainage. Both are small, maybe 2 feet by 3 feet. Single pane glass I'd salvaged from an old farmhouse. I'd built shutters for them, but they were decorative. Aesthetic, and they wouldn't stop anything determined. Nothing moved outside, just trees, wind in the branches, a Steller's jay called somewhere distant. I closed the shutters anyway, latched them from inside. The cabin went dark except for light leaking through gaps in the logs. I'd chinked them with moss and clay, but it wasn't perfect. I hadn't built this place to be airtight. It was supposed to be charming, rustic, a fun project. Now it was all I had. I lit the oil lamp, trimmed the wick. The warm light filled the space. 20 feet by 16 feet. 1 room, bed in the corner, table and 2 chairs I'd made from split cedar. Shelves along one wall with supplies, food, tools, my camera equipment. The wood stove in the opposite corner from the bed with the chimney rising through the roof. I'd been planning to spend the weekend, maybe through Monday. I had food for 4 days. Rice, dried beans, oatmeal, coffee, some canned vegetables, Spam. I'd shot a grouse 2 weeks ago and smoked the meat. That was gone. I had fishing line and hooks. The creek had cutthroat trout. Not big ones, but enough. Water wasn't a problem. The spring-fed creek ran year-round about 200 yards downslope. I had a filter. I had iodine tablets. I could boil water on the stove. 4 days of food if I stretched it. Maybe a week if I rationed hard. I sat down at the table. The Glock sat there beside my notebook. I opened the notebook, started writing. Just facts. What I'd seen, what the radio said, the time, everything. My handwriting was terrible. letters jumping all over. But I wrote it all down. When I finished, it was past noon. The emergency alert had stopped looping. Now it was just dead air. Static. I twisted the dial. Found another station. More static. Another. Same. Then on 11:50 a.m., I caught a voice. Faint. Breaking up. Seattle is gone. Repeat, Seattle has fallen. The infection spread faster than anyone. And hospitals were overrun in hours. Avoid all population centers. If you're hearing this, find somewhere safe. Stay away from. They're drawn to sound, drawn to movement. They don't stop. Headshots. Only way. Then static again. Seattle. Seattle's only 90 miles south of here. 2 million people in the metro area. If Seattle was gone. I twisted the dial again. Searched the whole band. Found one more station. Country music. Just playing country music like nothing was happening. Some song about trucks and beer. It felt obscene. I turned it off. The silence pressed in. I could hear my own breathing, the tick of my watch. Wind outside. I got up. Checked the door again. Still locked. Checked the shutters. Secure. I pulled the bed frame away from the wall. The lockbox was still there. I opened it. The Glock was on the table. The .22 was here with the ammo. I had a hunting knife. Fixed blade. 6-inch drop point. I'd used it for gutting fish and processing firewood. I put it on my belt. The axe was still outside, leaning against the wall where I'd left it that morning at the alder stand. I needed it back, but going outside felt impossible. Those things, those people, the white eyes, the way they didn't react to the spray, the way they moved. I waited until the light started fading. Maybe 4 o'clock. The sun sets early in the mountains in September. I cracked open the door, listened. Nothing. Just wind and birds. Normal forest sounds. I stepped out, left the door open behind me, kept the Glock in my right hand. Safety off now. Finger along the frame. Not on the trigger. Not yet. 20 steps to where the axe stood. I was exposed. The trees felt like they were watching. Every shadow could be hiding something. I grabbed the axe, turned, started back. A branch snapped to my left, downslope. I froze, looked, saw movement through the trees, pale, stumbling, one of them, and the young guy from the campsite. His shirt was soaked with blood, his face, his white eyes. He was maybe 40 yards away, moving upslope, moving toward me. He hadn't seen me yet, or sensed me, whatever they did. He was just wandering, his head turned side to side. That choking sound came from his throat. I backed toward the cabin, slow, quiet, watching him. The axe in my left hand, gun in my right. He turned, looked right at me. His mouth opened. A different sound came out, louder, like a call, like he was signaling. I ran, hit the cabin door, slammed it, threw the bolt, set the axe down. My heart hammered. Outside, the calling continued. Then another voice joined it. The woman. I heard her. That same wet, choking call. They were close, right outside. Something hit the door. A thud, then scratching. Nails on wood. Constant. Mindless. They were right there on the other side of 1.5 inches of pine. I backed away from the door, raised the Glock, aimed at the door. If it broke through, if they got in, center mass first, then head. The voice on the radio said headshots. The scratching continued. Minutes passed. 5, 10. My arms ached from holding the gun up. I lowered it, kept it ready. Then the scratching stopped. Silence. I waited. Nothing. More silence. I moved to the south window, cracked the shutter, looked out. Saw them through the gap. Both of them. The young guy and the woman. They were walking away, down slope, back toward the creek. Slow, shambling steps. They moved through the trees until I couldn't see them anymore. I closed the shutter, sat down on the bed, set the gun beside me, put my head in my hands. I was shaking again. Couldn't stop. That was day 1, September 14th, the day the world ended. The first week was the worst, not because of them, because of the not knowing. The radio went completely dead by day 3, just static on every frequency. My phone battery died on day 5. I've been turning it on once a day to check for signal. Never found one. When it finally died, I felt something break inside. That was my last connection. Even a dead connection. Now it was just me in the forest and whatever those things were. I saw them twice more that first week. Once on day 4, 3 of them walking along the ridgeline above the cabin. Silhouettes against the sky. They didn't come close, just passed by like they were going somewhere east. I watched them through a crack until they disappeared. The second time was day 6. I was at the creek filling water bottles. Early morning, the sun barely up. I had the Glock on my belt and the axe in hand. I was paranoid about being jumped. Every sound made me spin around. I heard splashing downstream. Looked. One of them was in the water, just standing there, knee deep, swaying, its head tilted back like it was looking at the sky. But its eyes were white. I couldn't see. But really, and it just stood there. I watched for maybe 5 minutes. It didn't move, didn't seem to notice me even though I was only 30 yards away. I filled the bottles, capped them, backed away slow, got back to the cabin. It was still standing there in the water when I looked back. I started to understand things. They responded to movement, to sound, but not smell. I'd walked downwind of that one in the creek, and it didn't react. They were slow, deliberate, not like movie zombies that run and climb, and these shuffled, stumbled. But they didn't stop, didn't rest, didn't sleep as far as I could tell. And they didn't eat much. I went back to the campsite on day 8. I had to. I needed to know. Needed to see. The bodies were still there. The dead ones. Torn up but not consumed. They'd been ripped apart but not eaten. Not really. Just damaged. Broken. The ones that had turned were gone. Wandered off. I found their tracks. Barefoot prints in mud heading east. Always east. Like they were migrating. I took what I could from the campsite. They'd had food, backpacker meals, energy bars, a water filter, a small camping axe, paracord, a tarp. I felt like a ghoul robbing the dead, but I needed it. Needed everything. The girl. The teenager who'd been alive when I first saw them. She was still there. Still dead. Flies covered her. I tried not to look at her face. Failed. She looked maybe 16. Blonde hair matted with blood. She was wearing a college sweatshirt. Washington State. I covered her with the tarp, weighted it down with rocks. It wasn't a burial, but it was something. Food became the main problem by week 2. I'd stretched my supplies as far as possible. 1 meal a day, small meals, rice and beans. The energy bars from the campsite. I was losing weight. I could feel my clothes getting loose. My belt needed a new hole. I had to fish. No choice. The creek had trout. I'd caught them before. But fishing meant being outside. Being exposed. Be upstream. Stood in the shallows. Waded upstream. Stood in the shallows. Waited for the trout to cruise close. Missed the first dozen strikes. Too slow. The refraction threw off my depth perception. Finally got one, maybe 8 inches. Gutted it right there. Ate it half raw that night. Best meal I'd had in days. I went fishing every 3 days after that. Sometimes I caught something. Sometimes I didn't. I started setting a trot line at night. Just a length of paracord across a pool with hooks every few feet. Baited with grubs I dug up near the cabin. It worked better. I could check it in the morning and usually find 1 or 2 trout. I saw more of them throughout September. They trickled through the area. Never in big groups, 1s and 2s. Always heading east, higher into the mountains. And I didn't understand why. Maybe there was something drawing them. Maybe they were just wandering, following terrain, following each other. I stayed hidden, stayed quiet. I stopped using the chainsaw I'd brought up for cutting firewood. Too loud. I used the axe and the bow saw. Slow work but silent. I cut wood every day, stacked it under the eaves where it would stay dry. Winter was coming. I could feel it in the mornings. Frost on the grass, ice on the edges of the creek. October came, and the leaves changed. Vine maple went red, alders yellow. It was beautiful, obscenely beautiful. Like the world didn't care that civilization had collapsed. The forest just kept doing its thing, growing, dying, rotting, repeating. I found more camps, empty ones. People had been up here when it happened. Hikers, campers, they'd either turned or fled. I found gear, food. Once I found a tent with a body inside. Old man, gray beard. He'd shot himself. The pistol was still in his hand. A .357 revolver. I took it, took the ammo. Felt like trash doing it, but I needed the firepower. Left him there. Zipped the tent back up. I had dreams. Bad ones. Every night. The girl from the campsite, her mouth opening, no sound coming out. The white-eyed woman walking toward me through the bear spray. The scratching on the door. I'd wake up sweating, grab the Glock, sit there in the dark listening, waiting. Nothing ever came. November. First snow on the 8th. Just a dusting. Melted by noon. But it was a warning. Winter here is serious. I've never wintered in the mountains, never tried. The cabin wasn't insulated, just logs and chinking. The wood stove would keep me alive, but I'd need a lot of fuel. I started cutting more, 3 times my original stockpile. I hauled deadfall from the surrounding woods, anything dry, anything that would burn. I shot a deer on November 12th, a small buck. He walked right past the cabin at dawn. I got him with the .22, headshot, dropped clean. And I'd been a mediocre hunter before. Now I was desperate. I gutted him, hung the carcass from a branch, let it drain. Butchered it over 2 days. Saved everything, every scrap. Cut the meat into strips, smoked it over alder. The smokehouse I'd built for the video actually worked. The meat would last months if I kept it dry. The hide I stretched and scraped. Tried to tan it with a mixture of brain and ash, made a mess of it. The leather came out stiff and patchy but usable. I cut it into strips for lashing, for repairs. Nothing got wasted. I saw fewer of them in November. Maybe the cold drove them lower. Maybe they'd all passed through already. I only spotted 4 the entire month, all distant, all moving east. I started to relax. Started to think maybe I could actually survive this. Then the scouts came. December 3rd, late afternoon. I was inside splitting kindling by the stove. Heard voices, human voices, actual words, not the choking calls. I froze. Listened. Tracks here, recent. Could be one of them. They don't leave tracks like that. Too deliberate. Someone's living up here. I looked through a crack between the logs. 3 men, armed. They had rifles, hunting rifles. They wore heavy coats, packs. They looked alive. Really alive. Not infected. I almost opened the door, almost called out. But something stopped me. The way they moved. Cautious, predatory. The way one of them fingered his rifle. They weren't acting like rescuers, and they were acting like hunters. Check the cabin. One of them approached the door, tried the handle, locked. He knocked. Anyone in there? We're not infected. We're looking for supplies. Won't hurt you if you cooperate. Cooperate. The word choice bothered me. Why not hello or need help? Why cooperate? I didn't answer. Sat still. The Glock was on the table, 5 feet away. I didn't move for it. Any sound would give me away. Might be abandoned, another one said. Lots of these camps up here. People fled, left everything. Smoke from the chimney yesterday, the first one said. I saw it. Someone's here. They circled the cabin. I heard boots on the ground outside, testing the shutters. One of them rattled the south window. The latch held. Force it? Not worth it. Small place. Probably nothing good anyway. Let's keep moving. That road continues east. Supposed to be a fire lookout tower up near the ridge. Might have supplies and radio equipment. What about whoever's in here? They stay locked up, they're not a problem. They come out, we'll see them on the way back. They left. I watched through the crack until they disappeared upslope. Waited another hour. Then I grabbed the Glock and went outside. Checked for signs. They'd left tracks heading northeast. 3 sets. Different boot treads. One had stopped to piss against a tree. They were real. Human. Alive. But I wasn't naive. The way they talked. The cooperate. Force it. These weren't good guys looking for survivors. These were scavengers. Probably worse. I went back inside. Barred the door. For the first time, I realized other people might be more dangerous than the infected. The infected were predictable. Avoid them. Stay quiet. They wander past. People were unpredictable. People wanted things. Needed things. Would kill for things. I didn't sleep that night. Sat with the Glock in my lap. Watched the door. They didn't come back. Not that night. But I knew they might. Eventually. If they didn't find what they wanted at the lookout tower. If they got desperate. I spent the next week fortifying. I reinforced the door with planks from a spare lumber pile I'd brought up months ago for future projects. Added a crossbar, heavy oak. It would take a battering ram to break through now. I fitted the shutters with interior brackets. Metal L brackets salvaged from an old project. They wouldn't stop bullets, but they'd stop hands and stop tools. I camouflaged the cabin better. Cut fir boughs and leaned them against the walls. Covered the roof in branches and moss. From a distance, it looked like a brush pile. Just part of the forest. I scattered leaves over the clearing I'd made, let the grass grow back over the paths. The chimney was a problem. Smoke gives away position. I started burning only at night, only dry wood that produced minimal smoke, and only when I absolutely needed heat. Most days I wore every layer I owned and shivered through it. December brought heavy snow, 2 feet in the first storm, then another foot. The world went white and silent. The infected stopped coming through. Too cold maybe, or buried, or frozen. I didn't know, didn't care. I just enjoyed the absence. The quiet. I ran a trap line. Simple snares using paracord. Caught snowshoe hares. 3 in the first week. Skinned them. Smoked the meat. tanned the hides better this time. I was learning, getting better at this, at surviving. Food was tight but manageable. The smoked venison lasted. The rabbits helped. I had rice and beans still. Maybe 2 months' worth, if I was careful. The creek froze over in late December. I melted snow for water, boiled it, drank it. It tasted clean and empty. Christmas came. I didn't celebrate, didn't see the point. But I thought about my parents, my sister. They lived in Tacoma, probably dead, probably infected, or killed, or starved. I hoped it was fast. Hoped they didn't suffer. That's all you can hope for now. I carved their names into one of the cabin logs, above the bed. Just first names. Mom, Dad, Catherine, small memorial. It helped, a little. January was brutal. Temperatures dropped below 0. The coldest I'd ever experienced. The wood stove glowed red trying to keep up. I burned through wood faster than anticipated, started rationing that too. Wore everything to bed. Slept in my coat and boots, and I woke up with frost on the inside of the windows, on the walls. Everything was cold and hard and unforgiving. I got sick in mid-January. Some kind of flu, fever, chills, coughing. I thought I was done, thought this was it, dying alone in a frozen cabin in the middle of nowhere. But I had antibiotics, a Zed pack I'd brought up months ago for emergencies. Took them, stayed in bed for 3 days, barely ate, barely moved, just survived. When the fever broke, I was weaker, thinner, but alive. I'd made it through. February, slightly warmer, still below freezing most days, but the sun had strength again. The days were getting longer. I could feel spring coming, still months away, but coming. I just had to make it. Just had to hold on. I saw people again in late February. Different people, a woman and 2 kids. They were hiking through the snow, struggling. The woman carried a rifle. The kids looked maybe 10 and 12. They were thin, starving. I watched from inside, until they passed within 50 yards of the cabin. Didn't see it. The camouflage worked. I almost went out. Almost offered help. But I didn't know them. Didn't know if I could trust them. And I had so little. Barely enough for myself. Couldn't feed 3 more mouths. Couldn't risk it. So I stayed hidden. Watched them disappear into the trees. Felt like a coward, like a monster. But also felt alive. Felt like I'd made the right choice. I don't know. Survival makes you ugly. March came in with rain, and the snow started melting. Streams appeared everywhere. The forest turned muddy. The creek swelled. I couldn't cross it for a week. The trot line washed away. I had to rebuild it. The infected came back with the thaw. I spotted 6 in the first 2 weeks of March. They looked worse. Decomposed, rotting. Their skin was gray and sloughing off. But they still moved, still walked, still responded to sound. They were breaking down, but not dead. Not really dead. Whatever this infection was, it preserved them somehow. Kept them animated even as they fell apart. I stayed inside more. The mud made tracking easy. If I went out, I left prints. Clear prints. Anyone or anything could follow them back. So I minimized trips. Went to the creek once every 3 days, checked the trap line weekly, otherwise stayed inside, stayed hidden. April. The forest exploded with life. Green everywhere. Flowers. Birds returning. Deer moving through. The world regenerating like nothing had happened. Like there weren't millions of corpses rotting in cities 100 miles away. Nature didn't care. Nature kept going. I planted a garden. Small one. Behind the cabin where the ground got sun, potatoes from sprouted ones I'd saved, some beans I'd kept dry. Didn't know if they'd grow. Didn't know if I'd be here to harvest them. But I planted them anyway. Needed something to do. Needed to believe in a future. The scouts came back in late April. One of them stopped, looked right at the brush pile, at the cabin underneath. I held my breath. The Glock was in my hand. Safety off. Thought you said there was a cabin here. There was, I swear. You're losing it, Derek. There's nothing here, just brush. Derek. So one of them had a name now, and made him more real, more dangerous somehow. They moved on. I waited hours before moving, before breathing normally again. That was too close, way too close. I decided to build a hide, a backup position, somewhere I could go if the cabin was compromised. I found a spot about half a mile north, a rock overhang creating a shallow cave, maybe 8 feet deep, 4 feet high. I cleared it out, stashed supplies there, dried food, water filter, a tarp, fire-starting materials, the .357 revolver and ammo. If I had to run, I'd have something. Somewhere to go. May brought mosquitoes. Clouds of them. They bred in the standing water from snowmelt. I'd never dealt with bugs this bad. They got in the cabin through cracks. Bit me everywhere. I burned green wood to make smoke. Helped a little. Made everything smell like creosote, but helped. I also made a head net from spare cloth. Looked ridiculous, but kept them off my face. The garden grew. Little green shoots pushing through the soil. Potato plants, bean vines. I watered them with creek water. Pulled weeds. Felt like a different person doing this. Like playing house. Like pretending everything was normal. I saw a bear in mid-May. Big black bear. He was fishing in the creek. Didn't see me. I backed away slow. Let him have the creek. Avoided that area for a week. Bears were dangerous, but predictable. They didn't want to fight, just wanted food. I could respect that. Work around it. June. Warm, almost hot during the day. The cabin became stuffy. I opened the door during daylight, let air circulate, kept the Glock close, kept watch. Saw nothing, just trees and sun and sky. It almost felt peaceful, almost felt safe. I caught a grouse with a snare in early June. First bird I'd trapped. Plucked it, roasted it over the fire. The meat was dark and rich. Best thing I'd eaten in months. I saved the feathers. Thought maybe I could use them for insulation. For arrow fletching if I made a bow. Always thinking ahead now, always planning. The potatoes flowered in late June. White blossoms, beautiful. I'd actually grown food, from seeds and dirt and water. It felt like a miracle. A small one, but still. July came. I'd been here 10 months. 10 months alone. 10 months of silence and fear and survival. I'd lost probably 30 pounds. My clothes hung loose. My beard was long and matted. I looked like a mountain man. Like something out of an old photograph. I thought about leaving sometimes. Heading down the mountain, finding other people. Real civilization. But where? And how? And what if there was nothing left? What if this was it? This cabin, this forest, this solitary existence. What if I was better off here than out there, wherever there was? I stayed, kept surviving, kept the routines, checked traps, filter water, cut wood, tend garden, clean guns, sleep light, wake at every sound. Repeat until the garden produced in late July. I dug up potatoes, small ones but edible, maybe 10 pounds total. I replanted some, ate the rest over 2 weeks. Fresh food, real vegetables. I almost cried eating them. Forgot what flavor tasted like beyond smoke and salt and gamey meat. The beans produced too. Not many. Maybe a pound dried, but enough. Enough to plant next year, enough to keep going. August. 1 year since I'd seen another living person to talk to. 1 year since normal. Since phones and internet and restaurants and crowds. I tried to remember what a crowd felt like. Couldn't. The memory was gone, replaced by silence and space and empty forest. I saw infected occasionally still. They were fewer now, more spread out, more decomposed. Some were barely humanoid, just walking skeletons held together by dried tissue and infection. They'd wear out eventually. Had to. Nothing lasts forever. Not even zombies. I wondered what caused it. The infection? The outbreak? Was it biological, engineered, natural mutation? Did it matter? Probably not. The cause didn't change the result. The world was ended either way. I thought about the future, years from now. Would I still be here, still doing this? Or would I eventually leave, find others, try to rebuild something? Or would I die here, alone, forgotten? Would anyone ever find this cabin? Find my body? Find the notebook I'd been keeping with all these observations and notes and desperate attempts to document what happened? Probably not. Probably I'd just rot into the floor, become part of the forest, return to the dirt. That didn't seem so bad. Honest, at least. Real. September again. The air turned crisp. The leaves started changing. The cycle repeating. 1 year complete. 1 year survived. I marked it in the notebook. September 14th. Year 1. Day 365. I was still alive. Still here. Still holding on. The cabin still stood. The door still locked. The guns still worked. I had food, had water, had shelter, had purpose, even if the purpose was just staying alive another day. That's enough. Has to be. It's all I've got. I heard something tonight. Writing this by lamplight. Heard something moving outside. Not shambling. Not the infected shuffle. Something quieter. More deliberate. Human, maybe. Or animal. I can't tell. It circled the cabin once. Stopped at the door. I heard breathing. Then it moved away. North. Toward the hide I built. I'm sitting here with the Glock. Waiting. Listening. Whatever it was might come back. Might not. I'll wait until dawn. Then I'll check the tracks. See what it was. See if I need to worry. The lamp's burning low. Need to conserve oil. But I don't want to sit in the dark. Not tonight. Not with something out there. I'll finish this entry. Mark the date. Day 368. October's coming. Another winter. Another cycle. More survival. Too scared. Too something. The winds. Too scared. Too something. The winds picking up, rattling the shutters, making the trees creak. Old familiar sounds. Comforting in their way. The forest doesn't change. Doesn't care. Just keeps being a forest. Keeps growing and dying and growing again. I should be like that. Just keep being. Keep existing. Simple. Pure. No questions. No doubts. Just breathe and eat and sleep and wake and do it again. The breathing's back. Outside. Definitely outside. Close. Right by the south wall. I can hear it through the logs. In and out. Steady. Too steady for infected. They don't breathe normal. Their lungs are damaged. Filled with fluid. This is clean breathing. Controlled. A person. Has to be. I'm raising the gun. Aiming at the wall. If they try to break through. If they try anything. I'll fire. Won't hesitate. Can't hesitate. Hesitation gets you killed. The breathing stopped. Footsteps. Moving away. East. Whoever it is they're leaving. Good. Good. I'll wait. Give it an hour, then I'll check. Need to know who's out there. Need to know if they're a threat. An hour's up. Going out now. Taking both guns. The Glock and the .357. Knife on my belt. Axe in hand. I'm ready. As ready as I can be. Opening the door. The tracks are clear in the mud. Boots. Size 10 maybe. A recent. And the person stood right where I thought. Right by the south wall. Then walked east. Purposeful strides. Not wandering. Going somewhere specific. I followed them for 100 yards. They lead up toward the ridge. Toward where the scouts went last winter. Toward the fire lookout. Then I stopped. Following them further meant leaving the cabin exposed. Meant being away too long. Meant risk. I came back. Erased my own tracks as best I could. Dragged a branch through the mud. Why just stand there listening? Maybe they want. Why didn't they knock? Why just stand there listening? Maybe they were scouting, checking to see if anyone was home, planning to come back with others. Or maybe they were alone. Curious. Cautious. Maybe they're like me. Hiding. Surviving. Afraid of other people. I don't know. Can't know. All I can do is stay ready. Stay alert. I'm exhausted. Haven't slept in 30 hours. I need to rest, but don't want to. Don't trust it. The forest feels different tonight. Wrong. Like something's watching. Waiting. I'll sleep in shifts. 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Keep the gun close. Keep the lamp burning. Make it through the night. Figure out the rest tomorrow. Tomorrow, always tomorrow. That's all survival is. Making it to tomorrow, then the next tomorrow, then the next. String enough tomorrows together and maybe you've got a life. Or something like it. And the lamp's flickering, almost out. Need to refill it. But my hands are shaking. Can't stop shaking. Adrenaline crash, fear, exhaustion. All of it catching up. Just breathe. In and out. Like the person outside. Steady. Controlled. You're alive. You're okay. You made it another day. Day 368. Still here. Still fighting. Still refusing to give up. That's something. That's enough. For now. Morning came slow. Gray light through the shutters. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every sound was a threat. Every creak of the cabin settling was someone approaching. My eyes burned. My head ached. But I was alive. Made it through. I checked outside at first light. The tracks were still there, leading east. No new ones. Whoever it was didn't come back. Not yet. I spent the day improving defenses. Cut sharpened stakes from saplings. Planted them around the cabin perimeter. Angled outward. Wouldn't stop someone determined, but would slow them down. Make noise. Give me warning. And I also set up a noise trap. Tin cans on a tripwire. Simple but effective. Anyone approaching from the east would hit it. I'd hear them coming. Have time to prepare. The work helped. Gave me something to focus on. Stopped the spiral of paranoia. Mostly. By afternoon, I was exhausted. The lack of sleep catching up. I ate some dried venison, drank water, sat on the bed, told myself I'd rest for just a minute, just close my eyes. Woke up to darkness. The lamp was dead. I'd slept through the whole evening. It was full night, moonless. The cabin was black. I fumbled for the Glock, found it, held it, listened. Nothing outside, just normal night sounds. Crickets, an owl, distant coyotes. I relit the lamp. My hands still shook. Checked my watch. 11 p.m. I'd slept for 7 hours. Straight through, left myself completely vulnerable. Stupid. So stupid. But nothing had happened. The door was still barred. The shutters latched. I was alone. Safe. For now. I made coffee. Real coffee. I'd been saving it, rationing it, 1 cup a week if that. But tonight I needed it, needed the warmth, the ritual, the normalcy. The coffee was bitter and weak. I'd reused the grounds 3 times already. But it was coffee. I held the cup, breathed the steam, felt almost human. I thought about the person with the boots, size 10, heading east. Were they alone? Part of a group? Friendly? Hostile? The not knowing was worse than knowing, and the imagination filled in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. Maybe I should leave. Pack what I can carry. Head west. Find lower elevation. Find people. Find something. But leaving meant abandoning the cabin, the garden, the safety I'd built here. And going where? To what? The cities were death traps. Rural areas might be better. Or might be worse. Lawless, violent. At least here I knew the threats. Understood the terrain. I stayed. Decided to stay. For now. Until I had a better reason to go. Days passed. 3, 4, 5. No more visitors. No more tracks. The noise trap stayed silent. Maybe it was just a one-time thing. Someone passing through? Maybe I'd never see them again. I fell back into routine. Traps, water, wood, garden. The potatoes needed hilling. I used a flat rock as a shovel. Piled soil around the stems. They were growing well. Another month and I could harvest again. Have seed stock for next spring. Build up supply. Maybe even trade if I found others. If trading was still a thing. The beans were done for the season. I harvested the last pods. Dried them by the fire. Stored them in a jar I'd salvaged from the campsite. Glass with a metal screw lid. Airtight. They'd keep for years if I was careful. I shot another grouse in mid-October. Got him with the .22. Headshot. Barely any meat lost. I was getting better at this. Better at hunting. At shooting. At reading the forest. At being an animal myself. The feathers I saved. All of them. Tied them in bundles. Hung them from the rafters to dry. Didn't know exactly what I'd use them for, but waste nothing. That was the rule now. Everything had value. Everything had use. The weather turned cold again. Frost most mornings. The creek dropped. Became a trickle. I had to walk further upstream to find pools deep enough to fill bottles. Saw fresh tracks there once. Human, barefoot. I backed away. Didn't investigate. Barefoot in October meant infected. Meant danger. Meant stay away. I reinforced the shutters with more brackets. Added a third bar to the door. The cabin was becoming a fortress. Overkill, maybe. But better safe. Better paranoid and alive than trusting and dead. November brought snow again. Earlier than last year. First storm dumped 18 inches. I was ready this time. Had twice the wood. Had food stored. Had systems in place. The trap line was already set. The hide was stocked. I was prepared. But preparation doesn't stop loneliness. Doesn't stop the weight of silence. I'd been alone for 14 months. 14 months without a real conversation. Without hearing my own voice except in my head. I'd stopped talking to myself months ago. Felt crazy doing it. Now I just thought. Constant internal monologue. Never stopping, never quiet. I missed stupid things. Music. I had no way to play music. The radio was dead. My phone was dead. I tried to remember songs, sing them in my head. But I'd forget lyrics. Forget melodies. They'd slip away, and I'd be left with fragments. With ghosts of songs. With nothing. I missed TV. Missed the mindless distraction. Missed laughing at sitcoms. Missed documentary voices explaining the world. Missed knowing things were happening somewhere else. That the world was big and full. Now the world was just this cabin, this forest, this tiny bubble of existence. I missed people, not specific people, just the concept, the presence, someone else being there, and someone to share the work, share the fear, share the small victories, someone to say good job when I caught a rabbit, someone to say it'll be okay when it wouldn't, someone to just be there. But there was no one. Just me. Just this. Just survival. December, year 2. The cold was worse than I remembered. Or maybe I was weaker, thinner, less insulated. I burned through wood faster, ate more to stay warm. The calorie math was bad. Input versus output. I was losing weight again, slowly. Not enough to be crisis yet, but trending wrong. I set more snares, checked them daily, caught a rabbit every few days, sometimes a squirrel. Anything helped. Meat was protein. Protein was energy. Energy was warmth. Warmth was life. I saw infected less frequently now. Hadn't seen one in 3 weeks. Maybe they'd all migrated away. Maybe they'd frozen. Maybe they'd finally broken down. Whatever the reason, I wasn't complaining. Fewer threats was good. Boring was good. Boring meant alive. Christmas came again. Year 2. I carved another set of names into the logs. Friends this time, people I'd known. Kyle, Jennifer, Tom. Small memorial, small remembrance. They probably weren't alive. Probably hadn't made it. But maybe. Maybe somewhere they were doing what I was doing. Surviving, hoping, refusing to quit. I allowed myself a full meal on Christmas. Cooked rice and beans with dried rabbit. Used salt I'd been hoarding, made it taste almost good, almost special. Sat by the stove eating slowly, savoring every bite. Pretended I was somewhere else, somewhere warm and safe and full of people. Pretended just for a minute, then back to reality. Back to cold and silence and alone. January. The hardest month. Short days. Long nights. The cold was constant, relentless. I wore every layer. Slept in everything. Still shivered. The wood stove couldn't keep up. I woke with frost on my beard, on the blankets, inside the cabin. It was too much. I got frostbite on 2 toes. Left foot. They went white and numb. I thawed them slowly by the fire. The pain was incredible, worse than anything. Burning and stabbing and throbbing. I thought I might lose them. Thought gangrene. Thought infection. Thought death. But they healed. Slowly, over weeks. Turned black first, then purple, then pink again. I could move them, feel them. They worked. I'd gotten lucky. So lucky. I was more careful after that. Better socks, better boots. Dried everything by the fire every night. Checked my extremities constantly. Survival was details. Miss one detail and you die. Simple as that. February. Marginally warmer. The sun had strength again. I could feel it on my face during midday. Could feel spring coming. Distant, but coming. Just had to make it. Just had to hold on. I saw people in late February. A group this time. 6 of them. They came from the west. Heading east up the old logging road. They had packs, rifles. They looked organized. Military maybe, or ex-military. They moved in formation, covered each other, professional. They passed within a quarter mile of the cabin. I watched from the shutters. Stayed absolutely still. They didn't see me. Didn't see the cabin. The camouflage worked. They kept moving. Disappeared into the high country. Gone. Part of me wanted to call out. Wanted to join them. Wanted to be part of something. But the smarter part stayed quiet. Groups meant politics. Meant hierarchy. It meant conflict, meant risk. I was safer alone. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Didn't matter. They were gone. Opportunity passed. I stayed in the cabin. Stayed alone. Stayed safe. March brought the thaw again. Mud season. The creek swelled. The forest came alive. Green shoots everywhere. Birds returning. The cycle repeating. Year 2. Still alive. Still here. I expanded the garden. Cleared more ground. Had enough seed potatoes now to plant triple the area. The beans, too. If it all produced, I'd have real food. Enough food. Maybe even surplus. Maybe enough to trade, to share, to build something beyond just survival. I worked the soil with the rock shovel, broke up clumps, pulled rocks, added leaf litter for nutrients. It was backbreaking. Slow. But it was progress. It was future. It was hope. The garden became my focus, my purpose. I watered it daily, pulled weeds, checked for pests, talked to the plants sometimes. Not out loud, just in my head. Encouraged them, willed them to grow, needed them to grow. They did. Green everywhere. Potato plants bushing out, bean vines climbing stakes I'd made from saplings. It was working. It was actually working. April. Spring for real now. Warm days, cold nights. The forest exploded. Flowers everywhere. Trillium, Indian paintbrush, columbine. Colors I'd forgotten existed. Beauty I'd stopped seeing. It all came back. Rushed back. Overwhelmed me. I sat outside one afternoon. Just sat. Watched the clouds. On an hour I was almost peaceful. Almost an hour I was almost peaceful. Almost okay. Then a branch snapped and I was back. Gun in hand. Scanning. Ready. False alarm. Just a deer. But the moment was gone. Peace was gone. Back to survival. Back to fear. Always back to fear. May brought mosquitoes again. I was ready this time. Had the head net. Had the smoke. Dealt with it. Annoying, but manageable. Everything was manageable if you expected it. Planned for it. Accepted it. I caught fish regularly now. The creek was full of trout. They were spawning, easy to catch. I smoked dozens, built up stores, protein for months, for winter, for the next cycle. The garden grew, the potatoes flowered, white blossoms everywhere. The beans climbed higher, pods forming. It was happening. Real food, real sustainability. I might actually make it. Long term. Years maybe. Maybe forever. June. I'd been here 20 months, almost 2 years. 2 years alone. 2 years silent. 2 years surviving. I'd lost track of what day it was. What month sometimes. Time didn't matter anymore. Just seasons. Just cycles. Just the pattern of survival. I looked different. I'd seen my reflection in the creek. Gaunt face, long matted beard going gray, eyes that looked older, harder. I was 34, but looked 50. The mountains age you. Solitude ages you. Fear ages you. But I was alive. That counted for something. Had to count for something. The potatoes were ready in late June. I dug them up carefully. Dozens of them. Some as big as my fist. I laid them out, counted them. 83 potatoes. Enough for winter, enough to replant, enough to live. I cried, actually cried, tears running down my face. From relief, from joy, from the sheer impossible fact that I'd grown food, that I'd created something, that I wasn't just taking and consuming and surviving. I was building, I was making, I was alive in a way that mattered. The beans came in July, pounds of them. I dried them, stored them, saved seed. I had food now, real food, for months, maybe a year if I was careful. I didn't have to hunt as much, didn't have to risk as much. Could stay close, stay safe, stay hidden. August. 2 years since outbreak. 2 years since the world ended. 2 years since I'd been normal. Since I'd been anything other than this. I marked it in the notebook. August 14th, year 2, day 730. Still alive. Still here. Against all odds. Against all logic. Against everything. I was still here. The infected were rare now. I'd seen maybe 5 all summer, all distant, all moving east still. Whatever drove them was still driving them, away from here, away from me. Good. People were rare too. I'd seen the military group, seen a few solo travelers. No one close, no one threatening, no one who saw the cabin. I stayed hidden, stayed careful, stayed alone. 3 years approaching. 3 years of? 3 years approaching. 3 years of this. Could I do 3 more? 5? 10? I didn't know. Couldn't think that far. Just focused on today, on this moment, on the next task. Cut wood, check traps, filter water, tend garden, clean guns, sleep, wake, repeat. The notebook was almost full. I'd been writing in it for 2 years, every day. Sometimes just a sentence, sometimes pages, a record, a witness. Proof that I existed, that this happened, that someone survived. I wondered if anyone would ever read it. Probably not. Probably I'd die here and it would rot with me. Become mulch, become nothing. But I kept writing anyway. Couldn't stop. It was ritual now. Necessary. Like breathing. The fire's burning low. Need to add wood. But I'm tired. So tired. Not just physically. Mentally. Emotionally. Soul tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that comes from too much alone, too much fear, too much surviving. But I'll add the wood, bank the coals, make it through the night, wake up tomorrow, do it all again. Because that's what you do. That's what survival is. Just keep going. Just refuse to stop. Just breathe in and out until you can't anymore. And I'm not there yet. Not ready to stop. Not ready to give up. So I'll keep going, keep surviving, keep being, for as long as I can, for as long as it takes, however long that is. Day 732. Still here, still fighting, still alive. Thanks for watching, guys. I will be back with another story. Whatever the reason, I wasn't complaining. Fewer threats was good. Boring was good. Boring meant alive. Christmas came again. Year 2. I carved another set of names into the logs. Friends this time, people I'd known. Kyle, Jennifer, Tom. Small memorial, small remembrance. They probably weren't alive. Probably hadn't made it. But maybe. Maybe somewhere they were doing what I was doing. Surviving, hoping, refusing to quit. I allowed myself a full meal on Christmas. Cooked rice and beans with dried rabbit. Used salt I'd been hoarding, made it taste almost good, almost special. Sat by the stove eating slowly, savoring every bite. Pretended I was somewhere else, somewhere warm and safe and full of people. Pretended just for a minute, then back to reality, back to cold and silence and alone. January, the hardest month. Short days, long nights. The cold was constant, relentless. I wore every layer, slept in everything. Still shivered. The wood stove couldn't keep up. I woke with frost on my beard, on the blankets, inside the cabin. It was too much. I got frostbite on 2 toes, left foot. They went white and numb. I thawed them slowly by the fire. The pain was incredible, worse than anything. Burning and stabbing and throbbing. I thought I might lose them. Thought gangrene. Thought infection. Thought death. But they healed. Slowly, over weeks. Turned black first, then purple, then pink again. I could move them, feel them. They worked. I'd gotten lucky. So lucky. I was more careful after that. Better socks, better boots. Dried everything by the fire every night. Checked my extremities constantly. Survival was details. Miss one detail and you die. Simple as that. February, marginally warmer. The sun had strength again. I could feel it on my face during midday. Could feel spring coming. Distant, but coming. Just had to make it. Just had to hold on. I saw people in late February. A group this time. 6 of them. They came from the west. Heading east up the old logging road. They had packs, rifles. They looked organized. Military maybe, or ex-military. They moved in formation, covered each other, professional. They passed within a quarter mile of the cabin. I watched from the shutters. Stayed absolutely still. They didn't see me. Didn't see the cabin. The camouflage worked. They kept moving. Disappeared into the high country. Gone. Part of me wanted to call out, wanted to join them, wanted to be part of something. But the smarter part stayed quiet. Groups meant politics, meant hierarchy, meant conflict, meant risk. I was safer alone. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Didn't matter. They were gone. Opportunity passed. I stayed in the cabin. Stayed alone. Stayed safe. March brought the thaw again. Mud season. The creek swelled. The forest came alive. Green shoots everywhere. Birds returning. The cycle repeating. Year 2. Still alive. Still here. I expanded the garden. Cleared more ground. Had enough seed potatoes now to plant triple the area. The beans, too. If it all produced, I'd have real food. Enough food. Maybe even surplus. Maybe enough to trade, to share, to build something beyond just survival. I worked the soil with the rock shovel, broke up clumps, pulled rocks, added leaf litter for nutrients. It was backbreaking. Slow. But it was progress. It was future. It was hope. The garden became my focus, my purpose. I watered it daily, pulled weeds, checked for pests, talked to the plants sometimes. Not out loud, just in my head. Encouraged them, willed them to grow, needed them to grow. They did. Green everywhere. Potato plants bushing out, bean vines climbing stakes I'd made from saplings. It was working. It was actually working. April. Spring for real now. Warm days, cold nights. The forest exploded. Flowers everywhere. Trillium, Indian paintbrush, columbine. Colors I'd forgotten existed. Beauty I'd stopped seeing. It all came back. Rushed back. Overwhelmed me. I sat outside one afternoon. Just sat. Watched the clouds. On an hour I was almost peaceful. Almost an hour I was almost peaceful. Almost okay. Then a branch snapped and I was back. Gun in hand. Scanning. Ready. False alarm. Just a deer. But the moment was gone. Peace was gone. Back to survival. Back to fear. Always back to fear. May brought mosquitoes again. I was ready this time. Had the head net. Had the smoke. Dealt with it. Annoying, but manageable. Everything was manageable if you expected it. Planned for it. Accepted it. I caught fish regularly now. The creek was full of trout. They were spawning. Easy to catch. I smoked dozens. Built up stores. Protein for months. For winter. For the next cycle. The garden grew. The potatoes flowered. White blossoms everywhere. The beans climbed higher. Pods forming. It was happening. Real food. Real sustainability. I might actually make it. Long term. Years maybe. Maybe forever. June. I'd been here 20 months, almost 2 years. 2 years alone. 2 years silent. 2 years surviving. I'd lost track of what day it was. What month sometimes. Time didn't matter anymore. Just seasons, just cycles, just the pattern of survival. I looked different. I'd seen my reflection in the creek. Gaunt face, long matted beard going gray, eyes that looked older, harder. I was 34, but looked 50. The mountains age you. Solitude ages you. Fear ages you. But I was alive. That counted for something. Had to count for something. The potatoes were ready in late June. I dug them up carefully. Dozens of them, some as big as my fist. I laid them out, counted them. 83 potatoes. Enough for winter, enough to replant, enough to live. I cried, actually cried, tears running down my face, from relief, from joy, from the sheer impossible fact that I'd grown food, that I'd created something, that I wasn't just taking and consuming and surviving. I was building, I was making, I was alive in a way that mattered. The beans came in July, pounds of them. I dried them, stored them, saved seed. I had food now, real food, for months, maybe a year if I was careful. I didn't have to hunt as much, didn't have to risk as much. Could stay close, stay safe, stay hidden. August. 2 years since outbreak. 2 years since the world ended. 2 years since I'd been normal. Since I'd been anything other than this. I marked it in the notebook. August 14th, year 2, day 730. Still alive, still here, against all odds, against all logic, against everything. I was still here. The infected were rare now. I'd seen maybe 5 all summer, all distant, all moving east still. Whatever drove them was still driving them, away from here, away from me. Good. People were rare too. I'd seen the military group, seen a few solo travelers. No one close, no one threatening, no one who saw the cabin. I stayed hidden, stayed careful, stayed alone. 3 years approaching. 3 years of? 3 years approaching. 3 years of this. Could I do 3 more? 5? 10? I didn't know. Couldn't think that far. Just focused on today, on this moment, on the next task. Cut wood, check traps, filter water, tend garden, clean guns, sleep, wake, repeat. The notebook was almost full. I'd been writing in it for 2 years, every day. Sometimes just a sentence, sometimes pages, a record, a witness. Proof that I existed, that this happened, that someone survived. I wondered if anyone would ever read it. Probably not. Probably I'd die here and it would rot with me. Become mulch, become nothing. But I kept writing anyway. Couldn't stop. It was ritual now. Necessary. Like breathing. The fire's burning low. Need to add wood. But I'm tired. So tired. Not just physically. Mentally. Emotionally. Soul tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that comes from too much alone, too much fear, too much surviving. But I'll add the wood, bank the coals, make it through the night, wake up tomorrow, do it all again. Because that's what you do. That's what survival is. Just keep going. Just refuse to stop. Just breathe in and out until you can't anymore. And I'm not there yet. Not ready to stop. Not ready to give up. So I'll keep going, keep surviving, keep being, for as long as I can, for as long as it takes.